Welcome to HD Nation Tech Feed Edition, your guide to the best in HD content and the best in home theater gear, no matter what your budget is. I'm Patrick Norton.
Hey, and I'm Robert Heron.
We got a lot of great stuff coming up for you on today's show. Panasonic ST-60, Robert's reviewed it. We're going to show you how to measure lag between your video. Basically, it's the sound trailing the video. We're going to show you how Robert measures it. And we got quite a bit more coming up. But first, we want to remind you, if you've got a question for us, email hdnation@revision3.com or at hdnation on the Twitter. Arrested Development fan?
Oh, without a doubt. I'm a latecomer to the show.
Okay.
So I'd say in the last year I watched all the episodes back to back, which I'm really a latecomer to it. I see why people love this show so much.
It's been interesting. Early Sunday morning, Netflix original, their latest, the 4th season of Arrested Development became available, and oh my goodness, the internet exploded. It's crazy. The Twitter, the Facebook, the everything else. But Arrested Development Season 4, I got to finish building a chicken coop, then I can watch it. But it's been really interesting to watch people watch the first episode, then watch the second episode, and then either explode like a certain camera operator who's not allowed to mention anything about Arrested Development right now for fear that I will panic.
I think it's a good reminder not to give away, if you've watched it already, don't give away anything to the fans. You'll make some upset fans out there, so including one Mr. Patrick Norton, who was plugging his ears and,
Wait, what happens to Moby Dick in the end?
and humming loudly. Does he live?
I don't want to go there. No spoilers.
None at all.
Oh my goodness. The Value Electronics flat panel shootout is amazing.
Annual event, man. This is epic testing, basically. The Value Electronics folks, they put on this yearly competition for basically comparing the latest and greatest flat panel displays out there. They call it a shootout, and this year it's basically taking the top models from the major manufacturers, and the results are in. Some surprises, really. This year's shootout included top models from companies like Panasonic, Sony, and Samsung. The surprise, really, was that one of the last Kuro panels ever made was actually part of the testing as well, to show that there are some old TVs out there, older TVs, that are still doing a great job. I'd say that this event is really unique in the sense that they bring in professional display calibrators to take every one of the TVs that are running and being presented, giving it a careful tune-up, and then they're setting everything side by side for direct comparisons, looking over things like picture characteristics while looking at a selection of everything from video clips to expert test materials as well. Now, they brought in not only some of the expert analysts and reviewers, but they also allowed general audience from the public to come in and take a look at the sets and vote on what was delivering some of the best eye candy out there for 2013.
And some really interesting results. So, ValueElectronics.com, not the most impressive website, but some, I mean...
It is a throwback of a website.
It's a throwback of a website, but that's because they don't care about their website. What they care about is having the best home theater experience, the best HD experience they can bring you. So they were looking at the Panasonic P65Z T60, it's a 65-inch plasma. Samsung's PN64 F8500.
Their flagship.
Panasonic's P65V T60, which is another 65-inch
just a
plasma.
step down from the ZT model. So
Sony's
still one of the best TVs out there. And the X900A from Sony, that's the TV I've had my eye on. That's their 4K set. That was a 65-inch screen that's LED lit. Ultra HD panel, actually. And also Panasonic's new LED TVs, the WT60, that was a 55-inch model, as well as Samsung's pride and joy in their LCD lineup this year is their F8000. That's the 55-inch LED LCD television that we're hoping to get in here soon anyway. Basically, the experts and the attendees did agree on one thing. Plasma's picture quality stomped the LCD technology. Even in brightly lit rooms for the most part, you're getting some pretty good performance across the board from this year's Plasma displays, at least in the upper tier, I'd say.
What's that? Plasma's not dead?
No.
Plasma's not even close to being dead.
And this was the experts in addition to the folks who came in off the street to take a look at it and evaluate it. Some of the highlights, really, Samsung and Panasonic Plasmas were the best overall as far as if you're looking just to go right to where the best pictures were. The experts did lean toward the Panasonic models. The average score for the VT and the ZT series were actually equal in their analysis. That's saying you can do good work with any of the Panasonic plasmas this year. The audience vote was slightly swayed, though, by the F8500 from Samsung. Its daytime performance, if you have a chance to see this TV in person, you'll look at it and go, that's a plasma. It is as bright as any LCD I've seen. And I don't know what the energy consumption is on that TV, but I imagine it's probably not doing Energy Star rated performance when it's doing that high bright mode. But if you think a plasma panel can't put out high light, take a look at what Samsung's doing this year if you really want to go that route. And?
So, okay, their main AV showroom, Village of Scarsdale, New York, but as they point up over here in the corner, brick and mortar and nationwide audio visual sales retailer. So Yeah, Value Electronics, really, really good group of people, really trying to advance quality and centering on what really is the most important thing, not the onboard computer that will be outdated in 2 years by your cell phone, but the fact that you have a gorgeous screen or not a gorgeous screen and what the actual value you're getting there is.
That's it, exactly. Focusing on picture quality, get past the branding, and really see what these companies are able to do with the latest technologies out there for producing beautiful looking imagery.
Which is a wonderful way to move on to the Panasonic ST60 Plasma HDTV. Mr. Robert Heron has been hands-on, in-depth. You are in love with this screen.
You know, it's one of the more affordable models that Panasonic has right now. We're talking for the 55-inch version we're looking at today, $1,350. That's retail pricing online right now. They also have a 65-inch version for about $2,400 online too. 1080p screen resolution, that's the actual pixel count of the screen. 3 HDMI inputs, a couple of USB inputs, and 1 SD card, a la pretty much every Panasonic product has an SD slot on it for your cards and storage there. Built-in Wi-Fi and Ethernet for networking. And it's also the first time I've looked at a new TV where when you turn it on, it presents you with a 14-step guided tour, complete with robotic narration.
To make the TV picture full screen, highlight the TV image and press OK. When you press the home button, it will return to the previous home screen.
It was a memorable moment where I kind of shook my head going, do I really want to sit here and listen to, I don't know, the female version of Stephen Hawking's voice kind of lead me through?
Please open up the contrast menu. You will find.
It was a little eerie at first, but I am pleased to report that you can disable, well, you can skip past that intro thing, but you can also disable something else that bugged me on last year's models as well, is that there was a banner ad when you first turn on the TVs for Panasonic. And I'm like, what is there a banner ad doing on my TV? But you can turn that off. And also, they encourage you to really get into the app thing. They'd rather the apps be the first thing to appear on the screen. Right. You can turn that off as well. So you get that standard TV experience. Although I will say, app usage on this TV was one of the best I've ever used, actually. It didn't immediately make me want to cry. And it included mouse and keyboard support. I think the thing I liked about it the best was that you had all the apps you would expect, but the layout was very clean looking, and performance in terms of navigation was excellent. Now, multimedia file support was awesome. It worked with all of the files I could ask for, except I think OGVorbs is the one oddball format I'd like to see better support for.
I love the fact that you actually embrace testing for OGVorbs in every HDTV you look at.
Well, it's a standard format on Android phones, and I think it sounds better than MP3 for the similar bit rates. So I'm really, and it's an open source format. All those things make me love it. Anyway. It's nice to see that, although you have your streaming for your local network files as well, like DLNA and the Ethernet and the wireless built in as well. That's perfect for that. Now, if you're asking what does the ST model sacrifice compared to, say, some of the more expensive models from Panasonic or anyone really, one is MHL support, the mobile high definition link. So if you're looking for a TV that has that technology built in for connecting your mobile device, this doesn't have it. The stand that it comes with is not a swivel model, if that's important to you. And I'd say perhaps if you're a picture fiend like me, it's the calibration from the factory. It's not as optimized as you'll probably get on the more expensive models. There's no THX mode for 2D or 3D performance.
But you can correct that at home.
If you spend the time or you bring in the right hardware to do it with, you can produce exceptional image quality, and we'll get into that in a second. And for me, myself personally, it's also missing some of the higher end features I'd see on the upper models from Panasonic. Things like auto calibration, where I can use the software that I'm so good with in terms of calibrating to take away some of the grind in terms of getting optimal picture quality out of it. It lacks that, but you still have all the regular controls you would need. Now, let's take a look at some of the benchmark results real quick. The things to show off really here are that the TV's depiction of its grayscale. That's really how the TV mixes red, green, and blue light at various intensities from light to dark. And when you look at a grayscale chart, essentially any steps that appear less than neutral, if they're tinged with color, that's inaccurate and that's going to affect the whole picture. Basically, the white balance on this set out of the box measured uniform but slightly tinged green. And like I said, this TV provides awesome picture controls that allow you to not only correct that minor issue, but to get it to reference quality. Now, the video processing built into the set was solid as well, especially when you turn overscan off. And this year, I'm pleased to say they actually labeled the overscan setting overscan, so it's not as hidden as it used to be.
Right.
If there was a weakness, though, for overall video processing, I noticed was jagged edge detection. Now, when you look at angled edges on objects, the closer they get to being horizontal, it should almost look perfectly flat on just about every TV. On this set, I was getting a little more jagged edges on the angled lines that I'd seen on other sets. And I'd be curious to see if the more expensive models do incorporate better video processing for that one area. And that will be something I'll be checking more carefully going forward as well. But without a doubt, you throw on some Blu-ray movies, turn the lights down low, and you'll notice one thing about this set, and that it produces a super dark black level. One of the best darkroom performances I've seen at any price point.
Wow.
And that epic black level gives you a couple of benefits. One, it really makes the picture have more depth to it, and it improves color saturation as well. And I kept thinking back to my older plasma TV at home, similar size, and it doesn't have this level of performance, and it really is encouraging me to break my budget for the month. But
oh my goodness! So well, this is $1,350, I think.
Yeah, not the cheapest plasma you'll find, without a doubt. There are definitely less expensive models, but you'll be sacrificing things.
I find that ironic that you're like, it's not the cheapest plasma you're going to find. Like you can get one in a box of Cracker Jacks now, but for the next step up, if you want to go for the THX pre-configurations or some of the other features,
probably another $400 or $500.
That's huge. That's like a 70% increase for basically the same picture that's pre-calibrated for you.
And one other thing to mention too, I would say those more expensive models would probably perform better in a brightly lit room like we are in the studio right now. The screen color, it actually affects how the picture looks in a brightly lit room, the actual color of the glass. This glass is a little grayer than you're going to see on the VT or even the ZT series from Panasonic. So if you are dealing with a bright lit room and you want the best contrast performance possible, that would be the one situation where I'd say the Viera ST60 might not be the best series for that in terms of that ultimate bright room performance. However, it provides not only a great app experience, an LCD-like frame design, a nice thin panel, and at the price it comes in at, it's a solid recommendation. And like I said, the only really downside is if you were dealing with a very bright room. Maybe an LCD or that insanely expensive Samsung F8500 plasma will provide the extra light you need to combat a room like that. But for the rest of us, this is a really solid choice. This is like the TV I would want in my bedroom where the lights are really well controlled, or in any room where you can really do that. And I'm not even saying that it has to be a pitch black room at all. It's really more like we're in a room right now where we have direct lighting on the screen. If you're dealing with a bright room, that would be the one weakness here. That and that edge smoothing, I'd say, could be a little bit better as well. But those are things I'd be curious to see if the step-up models address that.
Well, I'm kind of laughing because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6,000 watts of light blasting on us from up front, and the image looks fantastic, despite the fact that you've had to manipulate it just to show up in the studio.
One trick, though, if you are dealing with a situation like that, if you can fill the whole screen with video where you're not seeing black, either letterbox bars or pillar bars on the screen, that'll help a lot in terms of overall how the image looks. Because if you can see black on this screen in a brightly lit room, you'll then notice how the black isn't as dark as it could be.
Not as much as you will with my projector at home.
There you go.
There is, look, it's just an odd collection of Blu-rays being released May 28, 2013. This is the list coming up at Blu-ray.com, the release date. It is crazy. Just look at the first 4 films that show up. Cleopatra, Rolling Thunder, Airheads, and Bedazzled. And let's go to the next row down, Life is Sweet. Criterioncast has a great review of the 1963 Cleopatra. Joe Mankiewicz, I don't know if I'll call it masterpiece, but the movie that nearly killed him. One of the best things, great transfer, and a 2-hour-long documentary that, quote, may be more full of life and intrigue than the picture it's focusing on. Harsh, but probably fair. Yeah, Rolling Thunder is Tommy Lee Jones' 1977 drama. And, of course, 2 of Brendan Fraser's comedies completing that top row up there. It's just a weird mix of, we've got Father Goose with Cary Grant. We've got Whoopi Goldberg's Jumpin' Jack Flash. We've got, hey, I don't even want to get into that. It's just a strange week for movie releases this week. Let's call Doctor Who and the Despicable Me the Blu-ray picks of the week just to tick everybody off. I'm going to ignore the classics and go with some fun stuff.
Excellent.
And Doctor Who for Roger. So last week we were talking about game mode, sound lag testing, or basically like when the sound doesn't match the video, you actually have hardware you use to test for that.
Yes. Say hello to the Leo Bodnar box that I was able to pick up online at leobodnar.com. I believe this is a gentleman or a person who just makes electronics like so. This is a really simple device, actually. HDMI enabled. There's, I think, a 9-volt battery in here. Photodiode right there to measure the light, and essentially when I hit the button on front, it puts out a signal via HDMI. I then can put this meter onto the screen surface, and it will tell me the timing between when the video signal exits here and enters the TV to the point it's picking up with the photo sensor. Super simple, but it does highlight that there is a delay between when the video signal enters and when it's fired off the screen and into your eyeballs.
And you could also use that too as you manipulate, say, game mode or some of the sound timing delays. You could actually use that to test that.
Totally. And in the case of game mode on this TV, when game mode was disabled, we were getting about 125 milliseconds delay. Plasmas generally seem to have more delay because there's more video processing going on.
Right.
Switching on the game mode, we reduce that down to in the single digits for millisecond delay. Now, what we're not accounting for with a device like this is AV sync error, or how much delay there is between the signal reception and is there a difference between what it's showing on the screen versus the audio? Are those things in sync or not? This is just strictly for video input and to seeing how fast it gets to the screen or not, and to be able to adjust for that and to verify things like game mode to make sure they work correctly. Or if you're doing like desktop PC displays, this would be a good thing just to verify that this is fast enough for your gaming modes and it's not introducing excessive lag into your performance if you're a critical hardcore gamer.
So, Leo Bodnar, tool for measuring the delay introduced by the monitor and its processing, checking game mode, and if it works. What do you recommend for? I'm at home. I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars for a dedicated box.
Yes.
I mean, do you just tweak the settings until things start to match, or what do you recommend people do?
The way it's been done previously was that you use a CRT monitor. If you still have one laying around, connect it to the same computer, the same graphics card, have both displays mirrored, and then basically you'll run a timer clock on there with down to the hundredths of a second, and then you run the video camera on there, and then you can literally do a freeze frame on that, and then see the difference in time between that and adjust accordingly. There's a little bit of setup and work involved in there.
A little bit.
This is a little bit easier, but again, you're paying a few bucks just to have a very specific test hardware device. I would say that there are some Raspberry Pi users out there who could probably code up something to work along this line.
So what
pretty
you're saying
easily.
is go into game mode or the other audio lag settings inside your HDTV and tweak them until the settings seem to match.
And at least as far as gaming goes, at least on this TV and most TVs I see nowadays, if you do enable that game mode, you're turning off all the internal video processing. So it's going to make your movies and stuff not look that great. But
it depends on the source, because in some cases you can have a Blu-ray player that's doing a better job of taking the MPEG-4, the AVC off the disc and outputting it, especially on older TVs. A lot of older TVs did a fine job of unpacking video back in the day, not so much anymore.
Not at all. I totally agree with that.
Mr. Raider Ross says, Robert, on our YouTube comments at youtube.com/techhd. You scroll down, you can find HD Nation on there. Mr. Raider Ross comments, I'm still using my PS3 Gen 3 as my Blu-ray player, and I've been thinking about upgrading to the Oppo BDP-105. Is it worth the premium to do so? What differences will I see or hear?
Ooh.
Oh boy.
I got to tell you, Mr. Raider Ross, you might actually not notice that much of a difference at all if you cannot take advantage of some of the advanced features that impressive $1,100 Oppo BDP-105 provides. We're talking it has audiophile grade digital to analog converters. This is really an analog audiophile's dream box, actually. It also handles the player's coaxial optical inputs. So if you've got those going in, the DAC actually takes care of those as well for conversion to analog out. Built-in headphone amp, XLR balanced connectors, 7.1 analog output, SACD, DVD-A, FLAC playback support, HDMI switching. There is a lot going on in this box, including Marvell's QDO video processing and 4K up conversion. Marvell's QDO video processing technology is some of the best I've used anywhere. It is without a doubt an impressive reference universal disc player, and it looks about as future-proof as anything I've seen.
Yes. Okay. Let me make this really, really simple. This is an amazing disc player. 99% of the people out there will never be able to take advantage of it.
Agreed.
And the primary.
I want one.
Yeah, we all want one. But the reality is if you throw a Blu-ray in, connect it to your HDTV at home, you're
with an
almost,
HDMI cable.
Yeah. Unless you have a 4K HDTV, you are probably not going to see any difference from the $150 player you bought last week, or 6 months ago, or a year ago. What this is amazing though is in the back, if you have a lot of money tied into an analog amplifier system, if you have your unbelievable 5.1 system that you paid $25,000 for, this will allow you to keep using it in perpetuity.
And the dual codec support for DVD and SACD.
That is nice.
That's a big one. If you've been collecting that those audio formats for a long time now, here's a single player that can handle them both. And I can't think of another player off the top of my head that has that codec support in particular for those two formats. That's pretty rare. There's a reason you might want to step up, but that's a lot of technology and a damn cool design, but
it's awesome. We want one.
Overkill for most folks.
Pay off your credit cards and make sure you've been, paying into your retirement before you buy one of these. Oppo, fantastic gear.
Seriously.
One more. Andy Tuttle says, hi guys, regarding the cables, please do a blind test. I have experienced, he says, Andy, not me, many cables since I've been working in the AV industry, and my experience of a blind test was certainly eye-opening. When one of the managers at the Magnolia I worked at put together a small desktop system, he switched between 4 HDMI cables, and one of the cheap Audio Quest sounded better than an expensive monster. Every cable had a small, distinct, characteristic sound. It's all about synergy with the equipment. I've sent an email to Andy because I want to verify that he's claiming that HDMI cable changes create differences in the audio you heard. I could be reading the email wrong, but I'm kind of fascinated by that. And if you claim you've heard a difference with HDMI cables in a true blind test where you cannot see people switching, I would like to hear about that, because I'm not buying HDMI cables which transfer zeros and ones unless they're doing an analog over the HDMI. No. All right, I'm still not buying expensive HDMI cables, but we're going to work on setting up a blind test. In our perfect universe, we would do it at CES with a whole bunch of high-end audio-video journalists.
That would be a great excuse to have a soundproof room on the show floor.
Right.
Yeah. That'd only be about 50 grand.
Well, we'll see what we can do. And that's about it for this episode of HD Nation Tech Feed Edition. Do us a favor, subscribe to Tech Feed on YouTube to get our show in your YouTube lineup, and let us know what you think.
That's right, and please post any comments, questions, or suggestions down below. And until next time, thank you for watching.